Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 8, No One. With the episode officially in the can, I'm here to answer any lingering questions you might have. So let's get into it. John asks, did you see the Hound storyline coming? Well, I, like many other Game of Thrones fans, expected the Hound storyline to culminate in the Clegane Bowl, the popular fan theory that would have pitted Robert Strong, aka Zombie Mountain, against Sandor Clegane in Cersei's trial by combat. However, with Tommen's poorly advised royal decree that trial by combat will now be outlawed, and Sandor's probable recruitment at the hands of the Brotherhood without Banner, this no longer seems like a possibility. I said in last week's video that it was a bit disappointing that Sandor was returning to violence, effectively undoing all of the character development he's gone through. But at least the Brotherhood without Banners follow a moral code, and their plan to head north suggests that they could offer their services to Jon and Sansa. If the Hound can't escape violence in Westeros, at least he can use violence to help the good guys. Enrico asks, will Arya get to Winterfell before Sansa and Jon? It's doubtful given that Jon and Sansa are already in the north and marching on Winterfell. But Arya, she still needs to heal. She needs to find passage back to Westeros. That, in theory, should take some time. But having said that, the show has played it pretty fast and loose with the travel timelines this season. I mean, Yara and Theon sailed from the Iron Islands all the way to Volantis in a single episode. Now, it's possible that the showrunners choose to expedite the storytelling process and have Arya meet up with her family next week. It wouldn't make much sense, but it would be cool. But what is she really going to do for them? She's a ninja-like assassin. She's not a soldier trained in siege tactics. She doesn't know anything about politics. While we'd all love to see her sneak into Winterfell and gut Ramsay Bolton like a fish, that honor is likely going to fall to Jon Stark. Nope, Jon Snow. That's it. Alex asks, was the waif part of Arya's training, or were they both training to be faceless men and the waif simply failed? To me, I think they were both training to be faceless assassins. And strangely enough, they both failed their training for the same reason. Neither Arya nor the waif could completely purge themselves of their emotions and identities. Arya never really relinquished her true self, which kind of made the last year plus of her arc pointless, but whatever. And the waif obviously had some deep-seated jealousy and rage issues. It's actually pretty funny when you think about how many crazy theories were being thrown around after last week's episode, only for it to play out in the simplest, most straightforward way possible. Sometimes the most obvious path is the right one. Jesse asks, how will Dany respond to Tyrion's deal with the slavers? Well, back when Tyrion first brokered this deal with the Masters, I thought it was a necessary compromise and a realistic solution to an impossible problem. Grey Worm and Missandei, however, argued against it, telling Tyrion that the Masters could not be trusted. Well, they were right. The Masters attack Meereen, and Dany swoops in just in time to set up a big save next week. My gut feeling is that Dany will understand where Tyrion was coming from, given that she's accepted her role as conqueror and not so much as a politician. There really won't be time for her to be all upset when she returns, and while she may not be thrilled with his approach, she must realize there was no one else capable of governing in her absence. But what's more worrisome about this whole ordeal is the fact that Tyrion, once a political genius in the early seasons, hasn't really made a good call in some time now. Keeping Shae around, killing Tywin, alienating himself in King's Landing, trusting the Masters. It's been a pretty downhill slog for Tyrion lately, and he really needs to get his groove back. Ellen asks, was the flashback of the Mad King included a few episodes back to foreshadow Cersei burning down the Red Keep, Baelin's Sept, or even all of King's Landing? This was my immediate thought as well. We know that Cersei knows about Wildfire because she was having it made back in Season 2. We also know that stripped of her power, her prestige, her dignity, and now even trial by combat, she has virtually no moves left to make. But despite Tommen's weakness and betrayal, she still loves her son and wants him to remain on the Iron Throne. Burning down all of King's Landing wouldn't leave much for him to rule over. So my best guess is that she's trying to trap the High Sparrow and the Faith Militant in Baelin's Sept and burn them all alive, Mad King style. Jordan asks, who is the next main character to die and why/how? Well, there are a lot of candidates that find themselves in dangerous situations at the moment. Jon and Sansa are taking on the Boltons, Dany, Tyrion, and everyone from Meereen is under attack, Cersei is facing imprisonment or even worse, but I think the most likely character to die is Marjorie. The Queen has been biding her time by playing along with the High Sparrow, but she's still pretty squarely under his thumb. And if that Septon from last week caught her sneaking a note to Lady Olenna, you can bet this shoeless zealot will have something to say about it. Beyond that, Marjorie is a big enough character that her death would be impactful, but she's not too integral to the plot that her absence would upset the flow of story. In other words, she's expendable. Thanks for watching. Be sure to comment below with any questions or predictions you have for next week's episode of Game of Thrones.